Good morning, everybody. This is Anna Sothen here with RVA Connected, and I'm super excited to have Mandy Bass, one of our sponsors, and well, at this point, a dear friend of mine. I don't think she knew that when we first met. Oh my gosh, it's been over 3 years now, right? That we've known
It
each
has been a while. Yeah, we were at that. We
other.
met at like a
What happens when
luncheon.
what's that?
We were like at a luncheon or
We
something.
did, yeah. We had lunch at Chard. And I don't think people realize that like once they partner with me, like they're going to be my friends, whether they like it or not. So yay, you. But let's start off, Mandy. Let's just talk about, let's tell people who you are. Let's start there.
Okay, my name's Mandy Bass, and I am a licensed professional counselor, and I also own Rubicon Counseling. We do counseling for individuals, couples, adolescents, children. We take most insurances. We take also Medicaid, which a lot of places won't take Medicaid, and we also take Medicare and TRICARE. So we also support military families too.
I love that. And if I remember correctly, you're ex-military. Is that correct?
Correct. My husband and I both were. That's where we met, was in the military.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about, I want people for you to share why you chose the name Rubicon, because I think it's super important that people realize where oftentimes we come up with business names and sometimes they make sense and sometimes they don't make sense. But I think there's a really powerful message behind the name that you chose.
Yeah, actually, my husband chose it. I was starting it, and I asked my husband, I was like, Justin, give me a good name for my company. And he goes, we'll go with Rubicon because it's based from Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon into Rome, because once you crossed in, there was no turning back. So it's making a change and a decision in your life to make a change.
I love that. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that people knew that because that's what you help people do, right? So let's talk a little bit about what is counseling? Because I think we have a lot of misconceptions as well as to like what counseling is and what that can provide. And then I also think that there are some stigmas around getting counseling. I'm a huge believer that everybody should probably have a counselor or a therapist in their life, not their mother, not their sister, not their best friend, because those are the people who are just going to agree with them that what they're doing is right or what they said was right. But I think somebody like that impartial person that can listen and hear things that are going on and give you an unbiased response or, a suggestion or whatever. So let's talk about what exactly is therapy and counseling.
Absolutely. There are a lot of stigmas attached to it. And sometimes they don't know where to begin on things.
Right.
Everybody has challenges. And like you said, you could always ask your siblings or your parents or your friends, but they also have stake in the game sometimes too. And a lot of times whenever I see couples, I tell people, do not complain about your spouse to your family or your friends, because then your family and friends are going to have those negative thoughts about your spouse. And so everybody gets angry or upset, or in relationships, sometimes there are disagreements. And whenever you bring family members in, it can also cause challenges with that. And so with it, we work with people mainly with the anxiety phase of life. I have some families that I see that are mothers that are in their 60s, 70s, and they're having problems with their adult children and getting along and setting boundaries and figuring out dynamics on how that is. And sometimes people are having problems with their kids, what to do with the kids. Kids are going away to college. They're growing up. Technology makes life so much harder nowadays.
It does.
Miss the 80s, go get on your bike, go places, call when you get to your friend's house,
Yeah.
Some of that creates a lot of anxiety for people because they get a notification on their phone that their teenager just completed a drive and was going like 15 miles over the speed limit. They're like, oh my goodness. And think back to when they were a teenager and how fast they went and things like that. It's just, we didn't get caught as much back then.
Right. There's so many times that I have said, oh my goodness, if there had been video or cameras or phones back when I was a teenager, I would have gotten into a lot more trouble. Like there's just a lot of stuff that we got away with. And there's a lot of things that, and granted, people were like, well, it's different nowadays than it was, back when we were kids. And so, yes, the world is a little bit more tumultuous now, right? There's things that we did that would have gotten us killed today, right? With what we were doing. So I recognize that. But yes, there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that, there was no cameras or no evidence of what it is that I was doing. Because either I would have died or my mother would have killed me, one or the other.
Either way, you would have ended up dead.
Exactly, 100%. So what can people expect when they're coming to your practice? Because it's you, but you also have a team of practitioners as well too. So what can they expect when they come to Rubicon?
When people come to counseling, sometimes people have had counseling before, sometimes people have never had counseling, and they can be very overwhelmed. We do an intake session, and an intake session lasts about 53 minutes, give or take, around in there. And what it is we create tailored experiences to the person.
I love that.
Sometimes people don't know what they want, so we have to create more of a tailored experience. But sometimes we challenge people. People come in, they're like, I don't know where to begin. Right. And it's like, okay, well, where do you feel most lost? And it's building up people of figuring out, okay, where do you feel competent? And then spreading that competence to other parts of your life.
I love that.
And I've had some clients come in, they're like, I cannot do anything. And I'm like, okay, well, what's something you can do? And they're like, I could absolutely do nothing. And I say, okay, when you go to the bathroom in the morning, do you do that yourself? And they're like, well, yeah, I do that. And I'm like, okay, you are competent. You can get out of bed. You can go to the bathroom. Let's start with that. You can do things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's small steps. And then sometimes people are like, I just feel like I'm drowning.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what will get you out of the water? And I have so many clients that sit there and they're like, I feel like I'm just talking in circles.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, that's how we process things,
right.
by having someone to talk to, a sounding board who isn't sitting there saying, oh, well, just do this or do that. Like sometimes when I talk to my husband, I love him to death. And I'll sit there and say something and he goes, oh, just do this. And I'm like, thanks, Captain Obvious. I could solve my problems. I just wanted to vent a little bit about them. And that's what counselors can do. They can give you an opportunity to figure out, like, okay, what is going on in my life? And we also deal with people that experience trauma. And it's, okay, how do you go from struggling in that trauma to healing the scars or scabs that's from that and moving forward from that and not feeling so stuck? Because a lot of times people, whenever they're in situations, they're either going to fight, flee, or freeze. And that's what's going to happen. And so we want to get people moving so that they're not feeling like they're in this stuck place. We want to kind of lift them out of the water from where they're drowning to sitting in the boat and figuring out, like, okay, what is going on?
I love that. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about, like the competency, because there's oftentimes when we get into these spaces of overwhelm where we feel like we literally cannot do anything. And it seems pretty simple and people probably heard that and they're like, well, of course I went to the bathroom by myself. But sometimes it has to be that small of a pattern interrupt for you to be able to say, okay, no, there are things that you do that you are capable of doing, whether it's going and can you make yourself a cup of coffee in the morning? Like, are you capable of doing that? Right. Those types of things.
And I always tell people, make your bed. When you get up in the morning, make your bed. It makes the room look so much better. You're less likely to climb back in it because it's made.
True. That is very, very true. Well, they actually say, there's, several books that I have read, whether it be like The Miracle Morning or, there's 7 habits that millionaires do every single day. And the first one that they do is make their bed. Now, whether they make their bed or somebody else makes their bed is entirely different. But the whole purpose is that their bed is made, right? There's a sense of accomplished that first thing in the morning before you've done anything else, your bed is made. And so you check something off your list immediately. And like you said, I'll pull back the sheets and I'll get back into bed. But no, there is that, you're okay, well, the day has already started. Let's go ahead and do these things and just move forward and work with that. So you said a little bit, you guys do work with couples. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about couples, right? So I can think of, because my husband and I have done couples counseling. And when we did couples counseling, we had, I think, a woman who was our counselor. And for him, he was like, oh, she just agreed with you because she was a woman, and the man's always wrong. So how do you decide, like if a couple were coming to you, how do you decide whether you choose a man or a woman?
It's basically comfort level, because I have Josie who works for me. She does couples counseling. I have Daryl. He does couples counseling. They're both licensed. And then I have some residents that will also do couples counseling too. And it's personal preference on things. Like some people are like, I don't want to see a female. And then some people are like, I want to see a male. And it's just personal preference. Read the bio though. Often we get put into, oh, I don't think I'd like a female, or I don't think I'd like a male, or things like that. But read people's bio and don't go in with that bias of, oh, a man can't help me or a woman can't help me.
Right. Yeah.
And then another thing with couples counseling that people misconstrue is they think that we're here to take sides. There's so many times where people are like, well, who was right in this situation? And I'm like, y'all are both wrong, because you're sitting there trying to develop a winner and loser. And if you're having a winner and loser in your relationship, then nobody's going to win. Everybody's going to lose.
Yeah.
Because relationships shouldn't be competitive. Right. They should be complementary to each other.
Agreed.
One person does, the other one can't do or doesn't do, and then vice versa. But it is figuring out, okay, what is your goal in your relationship? And then what expectations do you have to reach that goal? Like my husband and I, we have a goal never to fight in our relationship. Like we never want to fight. And so whenever I bring up something or he brings up something, it's like, okay, he's bringing this up or I'm bringing it up because I don't want to fight. This is causing a problem in our relationship. So let's separate it from both of us and problem solve of, okay, this keeps falling through the cracks. I always do the joke with my husband. I would call him every January and I'd be like, sweetie, I'm glad you don't want me dead. He goes, well, no, of course not. Why would I not want you dead? And I'm like, oh, well, you forgot to pay my life insurance in December. And so I know you're not planning to kill me. And so and I'll always follow up with, yours is due next month. I already paid it. But that's the thing. I could sit there and yell at him again for doing that. But then it's like, okay, what's causing this to fall through the cracks? Because this is a problem of this is falling through. And this year, I am happy to admit he had it on the calendar, pay Mandy's life insurance policy on this day, and it got paid.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's, it's repeating things sometimes, just like with our kids, right? Like the repetition does help, right? And like you said, relationships are not about who's going to win, right? Mm-hmm. The argument or the situation or whatever the case may be. And I don't believe, actually, let me ask you this, just from a counselor's point of view. What do you think about the word balance? Like balance in a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some sort of balance. I go more with reciprocity.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
I'll go with, because sometimes I can give 80% and sometimes I'm barely giving 10%.
Right. Yeah.
So I need my spouse to be reciprocal on that, because sometimes he can only give 10% and, and it's all about figuring out what needs done and how can we get it done. Because that's one of the main things. There's a lot of things in my life I can do, but just because I can do it doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Correct. Or that you have to do it, right?
Yeah. And so it's figuring out like what are systems that I can get into place to reduce my own stress levels.
Right.
Because everybody, it's always like more and more and more and more. And then it's just like, what are things that I absolutely have to get done that is an absolute me thing that needs done now? What are things that I need to do but might be a future me thing? What are things that need to be done but that has nothing to do with me? And how can I outsource that so it's not my burden anymore?
Right. Yeah.
And it's figuring that out on finding that balance in your own life, even of, what is it that I need to do? Because often we put our own self-imposed deadlines on ourselves. I got to get this done by Friday. Why? What is the point behind it? I mean, the IRS deadlines are about my hardest deadlines that I follow through with because.
Which is tomorrow, by the way, everybody. Just you didn't know, tomorrow's April 15th. So.
Yes. So it's having some of that on, okay, what is it that we need? And and finding a counselor can be a very personal choice. That's why we have so many of them in our practice. And I tell people, like, you could try this counselor, and if that one doesn't work, go with another. Yeah. And just because counseling is a very personal relationship. Right. And I've had so many clients that are like, I've had a terrible experience with counseling. And I ask them in every single intake, if you've had counseling before, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Right. So that way, if somebody's like, this counselor gave me homework all the time and I hated that, then I'm like, okay, mental note, I'm not giving you homework.
Right. Yeah.
Unless it's something small, like make your bed for the day.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so whenever you're looking for a counselor, really figure out, okay, what is it that I am actually looking for? Yeah. And not characteristics of the person. Like, okay, is this person old? Are they? It's so funny. Sometimes there's people are sitting there and like, oh, I don't want a counselor that's old, or I don't want somebody that for my child who's over 30. And right. And that's okay to have those, but read what people's specialties are, because people that are great, like Ashley, she only sees children. Once they hit 18 years old, she's like, I don't want to see them anymore. And I'm like, but you've had them for years. And she's like, nope, there's like a magic switch. I'm like, Ashley, not really. And so,
right. But it's true. It's like there's things that people are good at, right? And so when they specialize in a certain demographic, that's what makes them so good at that, right? And so, I think that's super important, is reading their bio and being open to their bio versus going and reading their bios with a bias, right? Mm-hmm. So I think, and you do have such a varied staff that it really, like, they can find somebody to work with. And I love that you shared, because I think probably a lot of people go in and they're like, well, if I go and I meet with this counselor and I don't really jive with them, and it's not going to be productive because I don't feel comfortable with them for whatever reason. I say comfortable, not because they feel uncomfortable, but it's just the energy isn't working, that they probably feel like they're stuck. And they're like, well, I have to go, right? Because then if I go over to here, then their feelings are going to get hurt, or how do I, like, it's breaking up with somebody, right? But I think that's super important for people to realize that you can. It's like going to the store and putting on a pair of jeans that are either are way too small. You're not going to buy them just because, like, oh, I tried them on, well, I'm going to have to keep them. You don't want to do, especially with counseling, you don't want to do that with counseling, because you want to develop a relationship with that person where you feel comfortable. And the more you talk to them, the more you're going to share, and the more you're going to share. And if you're off the bat uncomfortable with being with that person, that is definitely not gonna. And that's where I've had a terrible experience with counseling.
Yeah. And often you can be honest with your counselor too, of, I don't like this, or I do like this. Yeah. And that could be helpful too, because it, like I said, it's a very personal relationship. So always be open to, if this didn't work, do find help somewhere else. Don't have one bad experience go to every single counselor, because it is finding your own personal match.
I love that. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit before we hop off here. Like I said, we met, it's been over 3 years now. It's probably going on 4, maybe even 5 years at this point, because we met pretty early on. But you're a sponsor of Swift Creek Living, which I absolutely love, and you get to share. So tell me a little bit more about that experience, because you are an expert, so you get to write articles and share your knowledge and your expertise in the communities that I serve. But why was it important for you to sponsor something that was community-based?
Because I want to help the community. Mm-hmm. I hate doing online counseling. I'll do some of it, but for the most part, I like being in the community and helping out the people in the community. Yeah. And so that's why it was important to me to sponsor, and also put my ads where my target audience was.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that the article that you have sent us, because this is what I tell people. It's like a TED Talk in front of, a couple of thousand people without the stage fright. But really, truly what it is for the person to be able to take the information and receive it in their home, in their safe space, where they're not having, that conversation with the counselor and like, oh my gosh, now I have to give them an answer. They can just sort of take the information in, feel how they feel about it, and then take the step forward, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So thank you for doing that, for being a longtime sponsor. I love it. And like I said, I mean, once you're a sponsor, I will make you my friend. And now Mandy and I are friends as well, too. Like, we text each other all the time about things, which I absolutely adore. But so before we hop off here, so tell people how they can reach you. So the phone number and then your locations as well, too.
Yeah, my phone number is 434-962-9730. And our locations we have one on Justice Road, 14411 Justice Road, Suite B. It's by Westchester Commons. And then we have a second location at Moorfield Park Drive, which is down by Johnston and Willis. So it's just on the outskirts of Bon Air, but over that way too, North Chesterfield. So we have 2 separate locations, and usually we can get people in within 2 weeks.
I love that. Yeah, that's a pretty good turnaround time. What is your website? So they have that as well, too.
It's Rubicon Counseling VA for Virginia.com.
Love it. Awesome. Any parting comments before we hop off here?
Just feel free to reach out. And if you're struggling, realize you're not alone. And counseling, we're not judgy people at all. We're not perfect people either, but we're here to help you navigate and to help you get unstuck from where you are. I tell people all the time, when in an intake, my job is to work myself out of a job. We are not going to be best friends.
Yeah.
So don't think of it as this big overwhelming mountain. Just think of it as a little hill that you just have to cross for a little bit.
I love that. And that goes back to her Rubicon counseling, right? So it's that river that you cross and there's no turning back, because the benefit of crossing the river is you being a more balanced, more self-regulated individual who, when you fill your own cup, then you are able to better show up in this world and do the things that you want to do. And they are going to, like she said, they're not there to judge you. They're just there to help you guide, or to help guide you in the next right step for you. And I love that you make it that it's tailored to that individual. It's not a cookie cutter, you're going to fit into this program type of thing. It's going to be built for that individual, which I love. So awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Mandy. I truly appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you guys want to reach out to her, she'll be tagged in all of the posts, but obviously you can always reach out to me and I can get you in contact with her as well too. And as always, my friends, stay fluid. I'm always cheering for you. You guys have a great day. Thanks. Bye.